This is the story of a small American town, RavenHollow, which at first glance seems peaceful and ordinary, but hides a terrifying secret. RavenHollow was surrounded by dense forests, and the locals had stayed away from them for centuries. It was said that strange things happened in the forests, and people who ventured into them never returned. Sarah and her husband, John, had recently moved into their new house in RavenHollow. They had come from New York, tired of the fast-paced life there, and decided to settle in this quiet town. Their house was surrounded by forests, and at night, strange sounds from the woods made them uneasy. From the start, Sarah felt something was off about the place, but John dismissed it as just her imagination. One night, Sarah was suddenly awakened by a loud scream. She noticed that John wasn't in bed. Alarmed, she began searching for him everywhere. When she went to the back of the house, she saw John staring into the forest as if he was being drawn towards something. Sarah called out to him, but he didn't respond. She approached him and looked into his eyes. John's eyes had a strange glow, as if he was hypnotized. Suddenly, John ran toward the forest. Sarah ran after him, but the darkness was so thick that she quickly lost sight of him. She kept shouting, "John! John!" But her voice was swallowed by the deep woods. She returned home and called the police. They searched the entire forest, but there was no sign of John. After John's disappearance, Sarah was devastated, but not ready to leave RavenHollow. She was convinced that John was still alive somewhere, and it was her duty to find him. A few weeks later, Sarah began experiencing strange events. At night, she would hear bizarre noises in her house, as if something was scratching the walls. Once, she felt as though someone was walking in her room, but when she turned on the light, no one was there. Sarah realized that what was happening wasn't just a trick of her mind. She started digging into old records and discovered that similar occurrences had taken place in RavenHollow before. According to the town's old records, every few years, people would mysteriously disappear from the town and were never found. By now, Sarah was convinced that John had been taken by a strange force in the forest. She met a local man, Mr. Gray, who knew about the town's ancient secrets. Mr. Gray told her that a primordial demon known as the Night Shadow lived in the RavenHollow forests. This demon would lure people's souls and take control over them. Those who fell under its spell either went mad or disappeared forever. Mr. Gray warned Sarah to stay away from the forest, but Sarah was determined. She had made up her mind to find John, even if it cost her life. One night, when the moon was full, Sarah entered the forest. Armed with only a flashlight and an old map, she walked in the direction where she had last seen John. As soon as she entered the forest, she felt a strange coldness, as if there was some invisible force in the air. The branches of the trees seemed to reach out for her, and with every step, she felt as though something was watching her. Suddenly, in the distance, she heard a voice. It was John's voice. "Sarah, Sarah," the voice called her. Sarah ran toward the voice and saw John standing by a tree. His eyes still had that strange glow. Sarah tried to reach out to him, but as soon as she got close, a terrifying darkness surrounded her. She knew this was the night shadow Mr. Gray had warned her about. Suddenly, a massive shadow emerged from the darkness. Its eyes were blood red, and waves of coldness emanated from its body. The night shadow began to advance towards Sarah, and the ground shook with each step. Sarah realized that the creature had already taken John's soul. The only way to save him was to defeat the night shadow. Sarah shone her flashlight at the shadow. The night shadow screamed, and its form started to break into small pieces. But it wasn't going to give up easily. It began pulling Sarah toward itself. She felt her strength slowly slipping away, but it wasn't time to give up yet. Sarah gathered all her courage and let out a loud scream. "You can't take me and John!" Her voice echoed through the forest, and suddenly a bright light spread all around. The night shadow shrieked and vanished, taking the darkness with it. Sarah saw John lying unconscious on the ground. She rushed to him and tried to wake him up. After a few moments, John's eyes opened. He looked weak but alive. Sarah hugged him tightly. They both made their way out of the forest and never set foot in that part of the woods again. The mystery of RavenHollow was solved, but Sarah and John decided that they would no longer stay in the town. Soon after, they moved to a new place.